When young Sheldon spun its final seasons into deeper emotional arcs and familial tension, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage swooped in like a comedic parachute, soft landing, silly laughs, and a refreshing southern charm. As a spin-off focused on Georgie Cooper, Sheldon's older brother, and his partner-turned-wife Mandy McAllister, the show promised a light-hearted look at young parenthood, mismatched love, and small-town chaos. But what if the show had taken a different turn? What if instead of centering on Georgie and Mandy, both lovable in their own chaotic way, the spotlight was handed to an overlooked, underrated gem of a character? Enter Pastor Jeff, the awkwardly enthusiastic, perpetually underqualified youth pastor turned minister from young Sheldon. If Georgie and Mandy's first marriage made him the lead character, we'd be watching a show that's 10 times funnier, 20 times weirder, and paradoxically, still completely heartwarming. The unexpected star. Let's start with the obvious. Pastor Jeff is not your average TV pastor. Played with manic, golden retriever energy by Matt Hobby, Pastor Jeff is a bizarre blend of naive optimism and deep insecurity, a man of the cloth who probably needs as much guidance as he gives. In young Sheldon, his interactions with Mary Cooper, Sheldon's devout mother, provided comic relief, but there was always an undercurrent of existential dread just beneath his nervous smile, as if he wasn't entirely sure how he ended up leading a congregation and is afraid someone will find out. In a world where Georgie and Mandy's first marriage explores the struggle of being young parents in Texas, adding Pastor Jeff as a central figure, perhaps as their accidental roommate, nosy neighbor, or unwanted marriage mentor, could elevate the show into a surreal sitcom goldmine. A comedy of cringe. Imagine the setup. Georgie and Mandy are trying to prove they're grown up enough to raise a baby, run a household, and keep their chaotic lives on track. But their attempts are constantly disrupted by Pastor Jeff, who's going through a midlife crisis disguised as a spiritual awakening. He's taken it upon himself to guide the young couple, despite having no real authority or insight into relationships or parenting. Cue the awkward scenes. Pastor Jeff walks into their house uninvited, holding a casserole and a stack of pamphlets about faith-based diaper strategies. He insists on doing weekly check-ins, which are really just poorly disguised therapy sessions where he projects his own marital insecurities. He tries to baptize their baby in the sink. Mandy threatens to throw holy water at him. Now, contrast this with the current tone of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. It's sweet, relatable, and peppered with classic sitcom misunderstandings. But Pastor Jeff as the lead would bring in a delightful absurdity, that kind of Michael Scott-esque chaos where you're not sure if you should laugh or intervene. The heart behind the humor. What makes Pastor Jeff a brilliant dark horse lead, though, isn't just the comedy. It's the heart. Despite being socially awkward and emotionally stunted, Pastor Jeff genuinely cares. In young Sheldon, his relationship with Mary was often surprisingly tender. He saw her as more than a parishioner. She was a partner in faith and someone who helped him through his own failures. That same vulnerability could create unexpectedly moving moments in the spin-off. Maybe he's trying to prove his worth after being demoted from his church, or he's facing an empty nest as his own adopted kids grow up. He latches onto Georgie and Mandy because he sees in them a new purpose, a chance to make a difference again, even if they didn't ask for it. The story of a former pastor struggling with relevance, trying to help others while figuring out his own life, is deeply human. It turns the show into something more layered than a domestic sitcom. Pastor Jeff could be a comedic lens into the fear of being left behind, the awkwardness of change, and the desperate, fumbling search for connection. Supporting characters reimagined with Pastor Jeff at the center, supporting characters get a whole new twist. Mandy becomes the sarcastic, eye-rolling straight woman, a sharp contrast to Pastor Jeff's overly earnest demeanor. Their chemistry could rival any odd couple dynamic on TV. Georgie, always trying to avoid confrontation, ends up stuck between keeping Mandy happy and not hurting Jeff's feelings. This sets up a lot of classic sitcom blunders, from accidental church choir auditions to baby dedication ceremonies gone wrong. Connie, Meemaw, Mandy's mother-in-law and casino owner, sees right through Jeff and constantly tries to outmaneuver him, or recruit him as a blackjack dealer for Sunday bingo. Even side plots could be retooled. Jeff starts a podcast called Faith, Family, and French Toast, where he interviews townspeople about moral dilemmas that usually end in public humiliation. He volunteers at a local school and ends up banned from career day for handing out pocket Bibles and vegan jerky. He joins Mandy's mom group, hoping to spread spiritual wisdom but ends up winning a heated debate on baby monitors. A sitcom in disguise at its core, this version of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage becomes less about marriage and more about found family, spiritual disorientation, and the messy beauty of trying, and failing, to be good. Pastor Jeff wouldn't just make the show funnier, he'd make it stranger, riskier, and ultimately, more memorable. We've seen enough sitcoms about young couples juggling kids, work, and love. But a sitcom about an insecure former pastor accidentally entangling himself in a young couple's life. That's a unique premise, one that mixes the sincerity of The Office with the spiritual absurdity of The Good Place. It would take risks, poke fun at religious institutions without being cruel, and above all, give an unsung character his time to shine. Final thoughts. While Georgie and Mandy are charming enough to carry their own show, injecting Pastor Jeff into the lead role would transform the spin-off into something far more hilarious, and unexpectedly profound. He's the character we didn't know we needed, an awkward, outdated, overly eager man in search of redemption through second-hand parenting advice and lukewarm casseroles. Georgie and Mandy's first marriage is funny, but with Pastor Jeff in the lead, it could have been legendary. Let me know if you'd like this stylized differently, more academic, more comedic, or with a script excerpt.